Okay, what we have here is the two polecats. We have the standard size, which is the red webbing one, and then the small version, which is the yellow webbing one. The standard size is designed to fit poles from 180mm to 450mm, and the smaller size is to go from 125 up to 285. This is to cover the range of different poles in the fleet. We've got one that's got slightly more adjustable in there, and I'll go through that in just a little while. What we're going to look at here is the pre-use inspection prior to use, the things to look for and the things we need to see. So coming up initially, if we look at it, obviously is a visual inspection. The belt itself, is it whole, is it complete, is there any glaring examples of cuts or damage or abrasion to it? Key point indicators that we look for is the adjustability in the device. When we pull through, does it lock in place? When we come to adjust it, does it open out? Carabiners, are they operative in a three-stage manner? Do they lock back and the gate close by itself? Check on the other side, same process. Does the gate open? Does it close and lock by itself? And a key one in this aspect here is this little fall arrestor shock absorber. Does it show a white label in this point here which says do not use? That will indicate that the belt has experienced a fall and is not suitable to use. We move on then through to the snap hook, checking that it works. Again, as with the other process, is it a double action to move? Single action is not allowed, must lock in by itself. Checking the orientation. We then check through the belt itself, looking for cuts, abrasion, any damage which might indicate that it's been taken a fall or exposed to chemicals. As you can see on here, it does have a little bit of use onto it, so we've got some creosote, and one of the key things to look at is the tread on the grip section to make sure that it's complete. This is very much like the tread of your tyres on your cars, and you need to look through. If you can see, we have a small white stitch pattern based in here. This is where the eye scaff goes, and the stitch runs all the way along the edge of the rubber section on both parts. If your rubber has worn down to that stitch part, that's the point where we recommend you take the belt out of service. We have tested it in a test laboratory on a dry pole, and it does grip and perform. However, if you're on a pole that's wet or greasy or mossy, that may not stop as it should do. So therefore we say when the wear gets down to that point, that's the time to take the belt out of service. Predominantly you'll wear on the top and the bottom of the rubber sections, not the central part. These are the points that are in contact with the pole when you're climbing and when you're descending. So these are your wear points you will get. So don't think that because you've got a great section in the middle that it's fine, but it's almost bald on these sections. These are the points to look for, and those are your main points of wear. Exactly the same process works with a small belt. We check through to make sure it's whole and complete. We check the adjustability on the belts. The difference with this one, as you can quite see, is that the rope rat adjustable side is a lot shorter. This is because we're tightening onto small diameter poles, and we don't need as much belt to move with. The danger is if you have a very long belt with a small diameter pole, is that people could use that for climbing. Obviously it needs to be as a choked unit and used properly, which we'll do on the pole in just a little while. One key thing to remember when you're inspecting is to move the wear sleeve out of the way so you can expose all of the line to check through, and making sure that we check through. And again, the classic ones for looking at rope is we look for that bend and curve as we're checking through to make sure there's no damage to the interior fibres or the core of the rope. Again, moving the wear sleeve back out of the way as we continue our inspection through, making sure it's all nice and good, and inspecting every part of the rope as we go through, down to the adjuster and then back through to the other side and going away. Now, as one little point of interest, one of the small design features of the belt is we have a small little tag. This is to keep your belt tied away when you're climbing so you don't spike it. There's a small little clip which just clips into the captive bar of the carabiner there. Now, this is purely an option. If you feel that this becomes irritating or you don't want to climb with it, it can be removed. It's not a safety issue if this ring is removed completely. It's there as an additional feature which keeps your line tagged out of the way whilst climbing, but preferences does allow you to move it out of the way. One other aspect of preference is we have a small section of webbing here. This is just a tie-back webbing to stop areas from flapping around. This has purposely been done in white. This allows you, if you wish, to put your name or initials in place. That way you can mark that section because it's non-load bearing with a permanent marker. Any other part of the webbing, we don't encourage you to mark with a marker rather, sorry, because it can affect the polyamides. But as this is non-load bearing, that is the reason why it's there as a white piece of marker. While I'm here, we're looking at the adjustment, particularly with the small one, which is labelled SM for small. This belt has LG for large onto it, for the diameters of pole. The adjustment is quite easy. You can just bring the webbing back. I've actually got this tied in place, cinched in place. Pull the adjustment pack. That extends the webbing out fully to meet the choking circle of a pole. For this pole, will be a little bit narrower, and to adjust back in, we tighten it in. Now you will see that this webbing is not attached to the rubber in this section. That allows us to cinch it down very, very small to fit those 125 diameter poles. We do recommend that you loop the Velcro back in place afterwards. It's not a safety issue, but the belt does flap slightly when you're climbing, so that keeps it nice and snug together and makes it much easier to maneuver with it.